There are some safety rules on the wall about wearing glasses and about wearing earplugs that aren't adhered to in areas. If you've got a sign up there that says you must wear this stuff, either you wear them or you don't. Yeah. So either take the sign down, adjust the sign, or enforce it. It's lazy thinking, and you'll be pushing people to do something in some areas that they just can't see the point of. And then we're into pointless rules, and then we're into pushback.
So Ryan, we're sitting here today with Russell, a manufacturing expert who flew all the way over here to basically come and roast your factory, your precious baby that you've been pouring your heart and your soul into.
Yeah.
What was it like? Was he kind? Was he harsh?
It's going to be actually a very unique episode because it's the first time we've done this. Russell, you're really welcome to the Lean Made Simple podcast.
Thank you.
It's going to be unique because you've actually done the Lean Made Simple tour this morning, and then we drove up to the studio.
So very simple format we're going to have for today is basically 3 things that you liked, 3 things that you didn't like. Feel free to mix and match and go wherever the non-sequential brain takes you.
So I'll start as ever with the good stuff. The first thing I liked was, and it's a general cultural point for Ryan, and that's the willingness to take people in and to actually ask what they think, but mean it. So I reckon I can count on one hand, possibly 2 fingers, the number of businesses I've been in where they really are legitimately interested. And it spreads not just from you. Everybody I spoke to today is interested in being challenged. That's rare. You've got like gold there that you need to protect.
Yeah.
So it's fabulous.
How do you think, like from an outside perspective, how do you think that has been achieved? Because that's a really interesting point.
Okay, so it's hard to gauge without having been there before. Mm-hmm. My suspicion is that the behavior has come from the top, and an openness and a willingness to try and fail from Ryan, and an openness as in, look, we've tried this, it didn't work. I've tried that, it didn't work. I think also the fact that you've managed to, the Paul Akers work and the 2-second lean, you managed to hitch yourself to a guide who was able to help you along the way. Is that fair?
Absolutely, yeah.
This is like a lean psychic. It's like lean therapy.
So borrowing somebody else's learning curve is tremendous when you're prepared to take that learning curve and then not try and replicate it, but go up your own learning curve based off that. Mm. So what's come through this morning, we've had some points where I'm pointing out stuff to Ryan, and he's not agreeing with everything by any stretch, but my suspicion is you'll take it and you'll say, okay, I'll cogitate on that. And if it works for us, I might try it. But it's got to work for us, which is great because copy and paste is the worst way of doing lean.
Sure.
It's lazy.
Yeah, and if I can just like shout out Ryan for a second, like look at his notebook. Like this is the one thing that stood out to me for the first time I met this guy. It's like, it literally could be my 3-year-old daughter telling him, by the way, the way you make highly specific expert medical chairs is wrong. And he literally would write down what she was saying, and he would genuinely consider it.
Well, and we had a conversation over dinner last night, and I was talking about as I get older trying to shed ego because I used to be quite defensive. Us experienced lean people, quite often we can be a bit not invented here, as in, look, I spent all these years doing this stuff. I spent my time with the Toyotas. I've been trained. So what I know is what I know, and it's worth listening to. But our egos get in the way, and we think there is only one way of doing it, and that's our way. You haven't got that, to your credit. So you're developing a lean business, I think, without much ego in many senses, which may actually be your superpower. Ego takes many shapes, but yeah, it's working for you.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it because most companies come to us for a tour and they're telling us all the good stuff. You know, we love this and we love that, and we're going to take this back to our company. That doesn't help us. What you done this morning in 3 hours is probably better feedback than we've got in the last 6 months of having tours. So I really appreciate that, first of all. And it also reminds me of the last time back in September after we had the Lean Summit. Mr. Amazawa and Mr. Amamura from Japan spent the full day, remember that? And
like tearing you to shreds.
Went through the factory and ripped us apart.
And I've never seen him more excited.
Which is fabulous.
He literally bounced out of that experience. Like, you'll never guess what happened. Like, what? I'm like, should your soul not be crushed? Like, what the heck?
So very similar feeling to when the Japanese were with us. So really appreciate the feedback.
Good, because you always strike a balance between you don't want to come across as a smart ass, and you want to celebrate the good stuff. But you also, I'm here for a reason. I've flown over for a reason, not only just to walk around the north of Ireland in toe caps for 9 miles, but also to impart some value. If I've come over and you're a busy man today and yesterday, you've got stuff going on. So, all right, I've come over here to see you, but I'm also taking your time from running a business, and I've got to respect that. So I've got to frame with you, look, there's lots of good stuff here, but I'm just going to give you a couple of kidney punches because I think that's value.
So let's get into that, because we promised the listener a good roasting. So that's the sandwich you get. There was the nice establishing first bit of the bread. Like, give us a little bit of criticism.
We started in the room, didn't we? In the meeting room.
Yeah, the morning meeting area. Yeah,
with a couple of Kaizen ideas and some stuff on training matrices. I had a suspicion from the morning meeting that built-in quality sensitivity will be an issue in the future. So built-in quality and people owning the quality of what leads their stage and the follow-up of what leads their stage. The ownership, I think, is unevenly spread. It's a bit of an end-of-line ownership.
Can you just unpack built-in quality for us?
There's 2 ways to get quality into a process, simplistically talking. Number one is, everybody just does their stuff and keeps ploughing on. And at the end of the line, you put somebody who you hope has got eyes like an outhouse rat and finds everything, which isn't feasibly. It's not even humanly possible. And they're overburdened, they're overworked, and they can't find everything. Or you build in quality, so everybody on their own stage, they follow their SOP. They've got their own they've got their own tools, they've got jigs, they've got check-in devices, they do some neighbor checks for the people before them, and they don't let it leave their stage until they're convinced it's correct. There's all kinds of advantages in terms of, you're not adding loads of value, labor and materials, get to the end and then have to scrap it all off. And you find out early whether there's problems. What's interesting here is that in the morning meeting, there was an issue was raised, a fold line issue. And there wasn't any follow-up straight away in the meeting, which sparked my interest about what is the depth of quality sensitivity. And then I pursued that on the shop floor more. The quality is there. It's a top quality product. I have to emphasize here. But some people run hard in businesses to ensure a top quality product, and you end up breaking them over time. And some teams spread the load more and nobody gets broken.
Yeah.
And so the reason why you say you think this is a potential issue down the line is because right now the size of the business and the size of the team means that they can kind of catch the quality. But if this was to scale, then that's where we might run into issues.
Yeah, because I've had one eye throughout this day and talking to Ryan yesterday, knowing that he wants to scale up big, and the business will. I have no doubt of that. It's easy to come in and do and we had a conversation about this. It's easy to come in and say that, and that's a current state observation. But you got people who can do that all day long. My interest is in, okay, you're currently here in your journey and you want to be here. What's your plan to get there? And what do I see what evidence breadcrumbs do I see today of the things that might trip you up on the way?
Wow.
So I'm thinking future, because I think that's the most valuable conversation. So there was a built-in quality piece. Kitting, really good job. Kit everything for assembly. I've not seen a factory with less clutter of this type, so it's...
And when you say kidding, that's a genuine question from my end.
Sorry.
I'm the lean noob. My job here is to be ignorant.
Yeah, you're the
avatar.
When somebody has to assemble something, you can either put all the bits around them and make them pick from all the bits and have loads of bits on the shop, or you can assemble the bits into a nice kit so they've got just everything they need in the right amount, and then bring it to them and they build from the kit. So Ryan kits, which is tremendous. And the kitting operation is manageable at the moment. But there is also a decant operation from suppliers, and there's a lot of handles, there's a number of handles from coming into the factory gate to going into the kit that when you scale may be tricky.
Yeah, it was a big learning for me actually, because we're unpacking pallets and boxes from our suppliers, taking them out of their boxes, putting them into our own boxes, then maybe going from that box into another box, and then it ends up in the kit for the chair. So we're handling some stuff 3 and 4 times.
So it's like Swiss cheese. The more you have, the less you have, or the more you scale, the more inefficiency there is.
And all those touches. So there's the additional labor cost of people doing that work, but also beyond that, every time you handle a part, you introduce a risk of quality, of affecting the quality of it, because you might drop it, you might bump it against something, you might not stack it against the next part. So you want to handle parts as infrequently as possible. Let the first touch be the best touch. That's Toyota saying.
Let the first what is it again? Let the first
touch be the best touch.
Yes.
So it actually speaks to rework more.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you only cost for something to be touched and assembled once. Every time you have to rework it, even informally, there's still a cost to that time. There's an opportunity cost.
Wow.
So there was quality, kitting, and then we had a discussion about safety. There were some, I didn't see unsafe practices at all, but there are some safety rules on the wall about wearing glasses and about wearing earplugs that aren't adhered to in areas. And we had the conversation about if you got a sign up there that says you must wear this stuff and you're not enforcing it, you can't be a little bit pregnant on this one. It's binary. Either you wear them or you don't. Yeah. So either take the sign down, adjust the sign, or enforce it. And if you're going to have it there, have it for a strong reason. So, and we quite right had a conversation. You wouldn't do a blanket thing, would you?
Exactly, yeah. I think that's where we got to. We have a sign up saying safety glasses must be worn, but they don't actually have to be worn in every area. So we're going to drill in to specific areas now after Russell's advice.
Very good.
And only wear them where they need to be worn. Because a blanket, as you say, a blanket rule is... It's not feasible and it's off-putting.
It's just it's lazy thinking, and you'll be pushing people to do something in some areas that they just can't see the point of.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we're into pointless rules, and then we're into pushback.
Right. And then you're into dogmatic style leadership, and then all of a sudden everyone's rebelling and he's ousted out of the company and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. I mean, that's an apocalyptic scenario. But that again, that comes back to, I struggle a bit with academia and some of the academic stuff, but some of the people, there's a fellow called Stephen Spear who's written a lot about Toyota and about lean. You know, there's 4 questions I asked your man Noel earlier about checking your standardized work. How do I do this? How do you do this job? How do you know you're doing it correctly? How do you know the outcome will be defect free? And what do you do if you have a problem? I nicked those questions from Stephen Spear. In the same way, Stephen Spear, he tried to decode the DNA of good companies, strong manufacturing companies. And one of the things he came up with was communications are unambiguous. So you're just really simple and you're clear. Mm-hmm. So you must wear glasses, and then not enforcing it is ambiguous. It's just clarity, I guess.
Yeah, amazing. And again, the fresh eyes to see that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
And it's interesting because, like, one of the things that I've heard you before in the past is that something along the lines of the standard you walk past is the standard you accept. Oh, look at that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
It's true.
And another one I love that you picked out, one of our phrases is make the jig the expert. And we say it all the time. I think we've maybe mentioned it in a few podcasts before. But you actually were walking around and noticed a jig sitting on top of another jig. And you were like, so it says here, make the jig the expert, but you're not making the jig the expert because you've set something on top of it that could cause a potential defect. So what you're saying doesn't line up to what you're doing. I thought that was brilliant as well.
I think my words were, I don't believe you, which is a bit harsh. Because you may believe that your jigs are the expert, but you're not treating them like you'd expect an expert to be treated. So a jig should be treated like a baby bird with a broken wing. Because that thing, if you knock it, if you knock it out of shape, if you damage it, it's not going to do its job. And stacking them on top of each other disrespects the purpose of that jig. Because to make a good part, you've got to bring materials, people, method, and a machine sometimes together, or a jig. So it's respecting those inputs.
It was really candid this morning, and that's what I loved. Russell was just saying, I don't believe you. I don't think that's right. I think you should do it this way, or have you ever thought about this? Really direct, really candid, and really honest, but with a genuine want to help.
Thank God for that. I was hoping it comes across that way.
Absolutely.
Good, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, this was, coming from a Northern Irish background, like everyone in this room except for you, Russell. Yeah. We have a very passive-aggressive style of communication. I don't know what it's like for you guys over there, but it's like, we were joking recently on a podcast where if you go out for dinner and you could literally have the worst meal of your life, the dinner's cold, the waiter spat at you, the head chef came out and punched your wife in the face. And then at the end, they're like, so how was it? Oh, great, really lovely, like class, amazing. Meanwhile, you're like, Google 1 star, Trustpilot 1 star, text knowing me, this place is the worst thing ever, like putting it in the local paper. And when I was first exposed to Ryan and the lean multiverse, I was like, whoa, like their love language is just like feedback and honesty.
Yeah.
And that's powerful.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of why I love manufacturing. We were talking in the car here about what the things I love about manufacturing. We covered there are little families in there, and they support each other through thick and thin. But also the humor and the fact that people can be very blunt with each other, and the humor is so sharp. There's a bit there about lots of people are vocationally minded, didn't go to university, didn't prosper at school. There's nothing wrong with their processing engine. It's just they hated being in a classroom. And so factories are full of team leaders and people who just didn't get the chance. And the banter on the Gemba on the shop floor is easily as good, better, I'd say, than the banter up here, because the banter up here is a bit bland, if truth be told.
Right. And I think that's like something that's very attractive to me as someone who does not come from a manufacturing background in the slightest, is the fact that businesses like this actually are a way to tap into untapped potential and just like find these uncovered superheroes that can just skyrocket into, positions if the culture's right and the organization is right and gives them the opportunities to ascend, like Toyota,
Absolutely right. And you look at so my sensei from Toyota, the Japanese fella, he came off the shop floor. He was on the tools. He started on the tools. One of my favorite clients, 200 million turnover company, runs a business, started off as an apprentice. Fabulous background. I will never be as strong as him to run a manufacturing business for various reasons. One of which is I didn't come that route. I spent a lot of time on shop floors, and I've spent time making stuff, but I haven't got it in my bones like he has, like team leaders have, to know how the pain feels and to feel empathy for the pain. And you learn it.
Sure.
Yeah.
As opposed to it being in your bones.
And that's the interesting thing. You think about Alan Weir, number 2 at Toyota across the water. Like he started off in a seatbelt factory. Yeah. And Paul Blage, big time manager over there as well. Like he started on the shop floor. Or even think about like you and your family. It's like you were making chairs in your shed. So like you've walked that walk. If I was to step into the business now, the Paddy would just laugh at me.
It's a perfect background. But you need a mix as well. You need people to challenge each other. So if it was all those people and it wasn't some fresh eyes from outside, then you'd have a different kind of issue. But if you have a management team full of degree educated people who aren't time served on the shop, you have to find a way to mitigate that management.
Yeah. So something that I noticed this morning as we were walking around the factory was that you're really aware and you can find burden very easily. And you told me a story last night which really resonated with me, and I think I'll remember the story forever. Russell shared how he developed that awareness for seeing burden. I think it's a fantastic story.
So my mother was unlucky, which made me lucky. So my mother's, she's 80 now. She's 5 foot nothing. She's a force of nature. She's disabled as well. She's been disabled since birth, both hips, multiple operations. She lived in pain most of her life. In fact, I mentioned my back issue to you earlier.
Yes.
And when I went to see the specialist, he said, "That looks like a 7 out of 10 to me." And I said, "No, I've watched a woman with pain etched on her face through my childhood. This is a 3."
Right.
And I was in agony. But she spent her life in pain. The relevance of it is that in walking with her and being with her, I learned to recognize burden in people early. So I know when somebody's limping, I know when they're struggling. I keep my eyes open for, are there slips ahead, are there trips ahead? Where's the nearest bench? What might give us a problem? And so I am naturally wired to center in on the person and where they are laboring or struggling. Now, I didn't develop that skill. It was given to me by my mother, by her disability, her ability, in a way, her superpower. So that was the silver lining behind her being disabled. Fascinating corollary to that story was that she told me recently that when she was 13, she did her first physics lesson. And she worked out, she first heard about levers, pulleys, and fulcrums. She became an A-grade physics student because she knew that if she could master those as a 5 foot nothing, 6 stone woman with disabled hips, she would be able to live an independent life. So I guess the point there is harness whatever your background is, look into your background and recognize what is useful in lean.
Yeah.
That's why whenever my friends say to me, "Are you still doing that manufacturing podcast? Is that not boring?" I'm like, you guys just don't get it. You don't understand what's happening in this room whenever we have these conversations, because that is like
Isn't that so powerful?
How powerful is that for like all of us? We all have been, I like how you phrased it, we've all been given different things, whether it's something physically or psychologically or through our family background, our experience.
Yeah.
And actually seeing those things, you know, the obstacle be in the way, that sort of mentality is just super
exactly
powerful.
Exactly that. And when a lot of people have to learn that. So you take, if you're training a team leader or a supervisor and you're trying to develop eyes in them, because you want team leaders to be able to time travel. If they can pick up a problem and solve it, great, but that's too late. If they can find abnormality and get rid of that before it becomes a problem, even better. But if they can do change points, it's even better again. Now, when you ask a team leader to tell you what they see, you say, give me an assessment of what you see here. Tell me about the 5S, yeah. They will point out quite often, that's out of place, that's out of place. They're showing you things. People quite often have to be taught to put the person at the center. No, focus on the person. Because the person, it brings the other stuff together. Focus on them. Make sure that their job is doable and all right. Then we'll worry about the other stuff.
Michael Althoff telling you, Ryan, stop taking photos of the things and focus on the people.
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy how the all the lessons and all the principles,
All links back.
they're just all there.
Yeah.
It's all the same. Lean is old wine in new bottles. You know, there's
Right.
there's nothing new here. All we're doing is selling different ways to summit Mount Fuji. It's just a different route.
Somebody asked me on a tour last week, did you invent lean? I was like, no, I wish I did.
Unbelievable.
But we're all learning from each other and from people that have been here before us.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
And our conversation about when over dinner last night with Ryan was telling me about the two Japanese fellows who've been around, and he said, you know, they were brutal. And I said, let me guess what they pointed out to you. And my first guess was wrong. My second guess was right. My first guess was, did they start with quality? Because quite often they'll start with quality, knowing that bad quality is an impediment to flow. It wasn't that. My second guess was, did they start with design, product design? And you said, yeah. And that's because there's a recognition among really skilled lean practitioners that 70% plus of the waste and cost is baked in at design stage. And we're all trying to sort this bit out and shut the stable door.
Wow.
But actually, if we can design it better, design for assembly, for manufacturing, with fewer parts, part count, then it's this stuff will look after itself.
Crazy. So you're going all the way upstream. It's not even built in quality. It's like designed in quality.
It is.
Yeah. Wow.
It is.
Yeah.
Because you connect back to the customer, and we had a conversation about SOPs and can I link the SOP back to the drawing, because the SOP is an expression of the drawing, and how do you make that drawing come to life? Because that's the only thing you've got that's signed off by the customer. So you've got to make that happen, and all the rest of this advanced engineering APQP stuff is just trying to get a decent product via an SOP at the end.
Something that I loved last night and today when we were talking was how you drill into the wastes. We kind of look at the 8 wastes of lean, and everybody knows about the 8 wastes of lean, but Russell was able to drill into, we just went through a few of them, but motion was one of the wastes that you really drilled into. And there's actually 3 steps, and I've never heard this before. You start off by, it's feet, hands, eyes. And that was a massive learning for me. Could you share that?
Sure.
Please.
That's something else I've stolen. I can't remember where from. I can't credit the person who told me that. But
shout out if you're listening.
Yeah, thanks. So when you're watching somebody work and you're trying to reduce the cycle time, it comes back to time as a shadow of motion. Well, that means if you're trying to make something faster, you don't try and make it faster. Time is just the shadow cast by motion. So you take away the motion and the time will fall. And in taking away the motion, you start with the feet. Where are people wandering about trying to find stuff or fetch stuff or take stuff back? That's the easy motion waste because it's visible. Once you've sorted that out and you've minimized the walking around, then you're into where am I reaching, bending, stretching my hands? Then, and you're coming from seconds to parts of seconds. And then the really granular stuff is once you've got that working area sorted, where are my eyes having to search out for either information or tools so you can watch their eyes? Now that's really useful for, I don't know, 10, 20, 50 second tack time where every part of a second counts. But graduation of that granularity of motion waste even is really interesting.
I'll 100% admit that we have started with improvements that involve the hands and the eyes, but we're walking 20 steps to go and get something.
Yeah.
So, we've done it the wrong way about.
Wow.
So with that new awareness, I'm going to rethink how we look at the waste of motion. Start with steps, then go to hands, then maybe sometime in 5 years' time, we'll go to the level of eyes.
It's really practical because a lot of feedback that we get from listeners and the wider lean community that we're a part of is like, how do we make this thing real? It's theoretical. It's just so like, where's the action plan? And that right there, the hierarchy of improvements for motion waste. That is insane.
Again, thanks.
Yeah. And it's another example of upstream thinking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It is, yeah.
It's like, as you were saying, like even whenever we started our lean journey, Daniel, it's like we came back and we were like, oh, how can we over optimize to save half a second on this bit instead of like, oh, but we just missed a 2-hour improvement on the back end.
but that's all right. What Ryan and CT Matters do so well is that so they get the Gemba power going, the shop floor power going. Lots of people fight, everybody every day, little bits here, which is fabulous. That's the way it should be done because you're creating momentum, and aligning that to a Hoshin is fabulous because then you get a top down and a bottom up. But what I've got to be careful of is I don't often talk about that because you could start to create a dogma or a rigidity. And let's say somebody bypasses the feed and comes up with a Kaizen that's to do with the hands, and you then give them a nicely intended bollocking. You've killed Kaizen.
Yeah.
So it is a guiding principle to know about and to be aware of, but be careful of teaching it too hard because people learn by just doing Kaizen whether it works or not.
That's right.
Don't they?
Yeah.
And you generally learn
Creates
as much
engagement.
from it not working as you do from it working.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because you've seen what doesn't work. You've ruled something out. Edison light bulb 99 times style. I've seen something that doesn't work. Let's try something else.
Yeah.
And that's like a level of kindness that's built in.
Yeah.
Like we talked about being the customer. Like if you put yourself in the shoes of the other person, if you were thinking about being who you needed when you were an apprentice, starting a job in a factory, and you had just thought you'd done something sweet and something class, and your manager comes and just sucks the air out of your lungs.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah. No, it isn't, especially if it's early. But then you can also have blunt conversations. Like we had some frank conversations, but you have to get the rapport right, don't you, before you can do it.
Yeah.
And one of Ryan's design engineers spent some time with us.
Yeah, Darren. Yeah.
Darren.
Mm-hmm.
And Darren asked a question about, we were talking about designing it well. So part count reduction, making it easier throughout. And he was saying, but it's not always easy to marry up what the customer wants with what's good for us. I said, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, he said, how do you do that? I said, well, that's the reason why you're paid. Your job, whether you like it or not, and the reason that you did your degree in design and you're a smart fella, the reason you're doing it, you're paid, is because you take the tough problems and you make them simple for the shop.
You relieve burden for the customer, and that's where the value is exchanged.
Burden for the customer and burden for the shop, and they're not mutually exclusive. There are trade-offs all the while, but you're paid to make complex things simple. And he is. He looks that way.
He's
He was
very good.
open.
Yeah.
Very open.
He really enjoyed this morning as well. He got loads and loads of notes and loads of ideas. Yeah.
So sticking the landing as we approach it, take a few seconds to think about this, or as long as you need to or want to. What would you say is the biggest area of improvement for Ryan? The area that he and the team need to focus on the most?
Okay. I can't walk past settling the safety thing because you can't go past. Everybody should go home with the same fingers, toes, and eyesight they came with. So I'll take that and I'll take another one.
Oh, one for free. Go ahead. Double or nothing.
The one for free is I'm really interested in how you develop your standardized work to the right style and depth of detail for you, for when you scale. Because you're on the path, but I don't think you've quite got the image of how you want to do your standardized work in a way that works for you.
Yeah.
So I would experiment hard there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to send you some ideas and examples of, try this.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah.
Does that align with what you think is the number one area that you feel like you need to focus on?
Absolutely, because when
Interesting.
Alan and Paul from Toyota came,
I actually didn't even want to bring it up. I was going to say nothing and talk about it off air, so I appreciate you being humble.
Is that what they said?
yeah,
The exact two things.
Yep, that's exactly what they said. They said safety and standard work. That was their two takeaways, and we have been really aware of that since their visit. I think it was the end of last year.
Yeah.
And since that,
Christmas dinner, it was. Yeah.
And since that, we've went big on SOPs. We've got Gemba docs in place, and we're working hard on it. But you're absolutely right. That's our area of improvement.
Running experiments to get that level of detail right.
Yeah,
It can cripple you if you have to cart it around in a wheelbarrow, but the absence of it is a problem.
I liked what you said, that if SOPs or standard works is too broad, it's not useful. But if it's too micro detailed, it's also too hard to follow. So it's finding that.
It is. Find that
Balance
level.
in between.
And
Yeah.
that the time we spent with Chris
Chris, yeah.
showing the knacks about
Yes.
how to pull it over and how you could size an element on your standardized work, and just you can allow some flexibility in how they do it within the element sequence is really, really important. But capturing those knacks from a really skilled man who's made a great oven.
Hopefully you found on your walk around this morning that everybody is so open to the ideas. Like Chris was all over that, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. He was, yeah, sure, why not? It was tremendous.
Yeah.
No, but I didn't pick up any vibes of what do you want? Who are you? You're developing a special culture.
And I find that impressive because there's a large volume of strangers that come through the factory.
Yeah.
So you would think the stranger fatigue at this stage would be like, oh, for God's sake. But the fact that openness is there, like it's kind of interesting to me.
What can I say? One final thing.
Oh, you can say as much as you want.
What is really interesting is, so if there's something called one cycle completion, and that's managers and supervisors when they approach an operator or a fitter on the shop. A lot of them just plow in, as in my time and my need is more important than where you are in your cycle. And subconsciously, I don't really care whether I distract you and whether you can pick up at the right point. Again. So I was always trained in one cycle completion. You approach the person, you stand back so they can peripherally see you, and you wait for them to finish the cycle they're on.
I noticed you doing that this morning.
And the reason for that is because if you distract them, you introduce a quality risk because you're interrupting a dance.
Wow.
What's really interesting is your people are so open. It's the first time I've seen, and I need to think about this harder. One cycle completion doesn't happen at your place, as in you're all pretty free flowing, and you don't appear to suffer from it either. So I need to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what's interesting? Actually, like Paul actually, I don't know if you heard Paul say this from Toyota, because we went to approach not the cutting area, but was it the foam area maybe? And Paul was like really holding back, and he really didn't want to interrupt the team member.
That's right.
And then we went over like, oh, like Seamus or whatever it was, like great to see you. And Paul was almost like
Horrified.
I can't believe they interrupted the dance, which is just really interesting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. That's right. Same thinking, yeah.
But it sounds like all I've done is repeated what you've heard before.
And that's a tough pill to swallow in a way, but also good pill.
Good because the Japanese guy said it, Toyota UK said it, and now Russell's saying it.
Well,
It's
third
the
charm's the
same-
charm.
It's the same theme, and it's
Russell told us not to call him Sensei, but Sensei's gone and pulled it out of the bag.
And now I'm going to have to kick you till you're dead.
Russell, this has been genuinely like I can't wait to talk about this off mic, because I think there's something really, really powerful in here. And so if you're listening to this or you're watching this, like let us know. Did you like this? Did you enjoy this? This was an experiment that we're running. We can do as much of this as you want going forward. So let us know where you find value, and we will just add volume and replicate that. Final question for you, Russell. What is the one thing that you're going to take home with you and take hopefully around the world with you in your back pocket? Something that you're like, you know what? That right there, that's pretty cool.
The structure of the morning meeting. There are 3 or 4 parts that I really like in terms of daily creating a useful habit of a team that works together. Most morning meetings I see are there is a fear in the room because it's a point at which people escalate trouble. It's a trouble escalation thing, or people don't want to get found out, or they're reporting their numbers. But that is fabulous because you're actually using it the reverse of how most people use it. You're using it to build your team. And it's a 20-minute investment across 40 people. That's 80 minutes every day that you've lost or invested. I say invested because I think that's where your culture come from. And actually, you said that because Paul Akers had said to you.
Yep, exactly, yeah.
So I'll be nicking some stuff from that.
Yeah, the morning meeting's a massive part of how we've built our culture, yeah.
Just morning market, Asaichi defects.
Morning market, that's a podcast on its own.
I have no idea what you just said.
Big learning today, the morning market. Do you want to, have we time?
Oh, we've time.
We'll make time.
Yeah. This is our podcast. We do what we want to do. So make Russell miss his flight. We don't care. The value's streaming.
So again, it's not mine. Most of this is from being trained in it. So none of these are original thoughts, and a lot of them flow from Toyota background. Asaichi is morning market, and it's generally tended towards a market and fish. So a morning market is somewhere where there is a gathering in the morning of the management team. You put yesterday's defects, or a selection of yesterday's defects, and you put those defects so that people are drawn to them. They look at them. We all have a common understanding of the defect. We can touch it. We can feel it. We can discuss it. And so defects, they are treasure. We are elevating them to front and center. Ryan, my breadcrumb this morning was that the fold line issue wasn't followed up. And we had a conversation with Noel about how do you raise quality defects?
Yeah, without offending people.
Yeah. How my advice was, don't raise it. Don't make it a spoken thing. Just create a morning market in your meeting room and put them there. And people will gravitate to them. You will start the conversation. And then it grows from there.
So Russell's suggestion is a physical table where we put the defected part and people can walk up and walk past it and go, oh, what happened here? And it starts the conversation.
Wow.
As opposed to saying, this was made wrong yesterday. Why did this happen?
Just I'll give you a quick story from a non-manufacturing background. So I heard the story just like a couple of days ago, so it's top of mind. When Google was in its really, really early stages, the founder of Google, can't remember their name, literally would print out a defect and go and put it on a notice board and would say nothing and would just go and slap the screenshot. And this particular case, it was an ad that just looked awful. And they went and they put it on the market table, to use your analogy. And the senior engineer who had designed it quickly ran up to it, looked at it and went, oh, I have to fix this. He went home, pulled an all-nighter and developed a product called AdSense.
Oh, did he?
Which has raised and generated billions. Gazillions of dollars, all because of the market table.
Fabulous. It's fabulous. There is a Brucey bonus there in that if you just put it there, then you can say, can anybody tell me what's wrong with that? You don't have to tell anybody anything. You just ask questions. What do you think's wrong with that? And suddenly it's a bit of a game. Well, that's broken. Why do we think that happened? And then you're into some kind of starting down a funnel of root cause analysis without having to
give someone a bollock
or talk too much.
I'm going to make a commitment right now, live in the podcast. We're going to do that, and we're going to make a video, and we'll put it on our YouTube channel.
Boom, done.
Of the market table improvement to display our defects. Let's do it.
Good.
Yeah.
The forfeit, if you don't, is a selection of walled brewery beers in Derry sent to my home.
Deal. That's we can commit to that right now on air. Let's do it.
Walled City Brewery, great brewery.
Russell, genuinely can't thank you enough. Mad amounts of values, as Daniel would say, just gems being dropped everywhere. That's like such a TikTok thing to say.
Can I just say thanks to Ryan for taking the time out in a really busy couple of days. I've really enjoyed it. Your people were tremendous. And it's been a learning experience for me as well. And I mean that.
Thank you.
And thank you for having me today. I love talking to people who are passionate about this stuff as well, who really want to get into it.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Sensei, our pleasure.
No.
Thank you.
Cheers.